everyone. My name is Tim Fiola. I'm a developer advocate here at Network to Code, and today I'm really excited about our session. We're going to do a video walkthrough to get up and running with Nautobot ChatOps on Slack. So the purpose of this whole exercise here is to guide you through a complete walkthrough of setting up ChatOps in Slack so you can access Nautobot information in the Slack channel. This includes defining the Slack workspace if you don't have one already, and it also includes the Slack application configuration. You will need a functioning Nautobot installation, a publicly accessible URL for Nautobot, or the ability and permission to use ngrok to get a publicly accessible URL for your Nautobot installation. You'll need sudo access on the Nautobot server, and you'll also need administrative access within the Nautobot web UI. And one important detail to call out is that your Nautobot server must have a trusted SSL certificate. Slack will not allow you to use a self-signed certificate with your Nautobot server if you're going to use it for ChatOps. So this overview will cover 5 general areas: creating your Slack workspace if you don't have one already, defining and configuring a Slack application, preparing the Nautobot server that has to do with configurations, granting access to the chatbot in the Nautobot web UI, and then running multiple Nautobot instances in Slack. I'll show you at the end of it how to run multiple instances in the same Slack workspace. And then we'll also cover ngrok, which can be used for public URL access. Okay, the first step here is to make sure you have a workspace in Slack to work in. So if you do not have that, let's go ahead and go to slack.com. And then there is a link down here to get started, and go ahead and click on that. Slight pause here while I do the security verification. Now we're ready to go ahead and create our workspace. And we will go ahead and create Vandelay Industries as our workspace. And this will end up being one of our channel names. So let's just call it NetOps. Go ahead and skip this step of adding and inviting people if you like. There's no need to invite anyone just yet. And we'll go ahead and open the Slack app, Vandelay Industries. And we have our NetOps channel right there that we defined prior. Great. Now that our Slack workspace and channels are defined, the next step is to go ahead and define the Slack app, and we'll do that in the next phase. All right, everyone, it's time now to define our Slack application. In this section where we're going to be defining the Slack application, we also want to be prepared to gather 3 specific items of information: the Slack signing secret, the Slack API token, and then our Slack organization and channel values. And as an FYI, the instructions for this part that I'm going to go through are here in the GitHub repository for the Nautobot plugin ChatOps. There's a URL right there. And if you scroll down in the README file to the installation guide, then if you scroll down a bit more to the platform-specific setup, you'll find the setup for Slack. And this series of steps right here are the ones I'm going to be walking through in this next part of this demo video. Okay, so let's go back over to our other tab here, and we are at api.slack.com. And from here, we'll go ahead and create a custom app. Should be up here at the top somewhere. Okay, then go ahead and when we're creating a new app, we're going to create one from scratch. And we'll define this name Nautobot ChatOps. And we'll select a certain workspace, and we will select our newly created Vandelay Industries. Great, here we are. Now that we're on the basic information page for our application, go ahead and there's a section down here called Add Features and Functionality. It may or may not be collapsed, but go ahead and expand it. And then we will go ahead and click on Interactive Components. For interactivity, we will toggle this to on, and then we'll go ahead and create a request URL to receive the Slack post commands. So we'll go ahead and I will copy this in, then I will explain what I'm doing. Okay, this, what we're pasting in here has this format of HTTPS server, that's our server name, and then you add on this API plugins ChatOps Slack interaction. So if I go back to my what I pasted in here, in Amber Clad, cloudnetworktocode.com is my server name. Then I append on this this endpoint here. Go ahead and save the changes, and then let's head back to the basic information section. Let's resume with the defining the application here. The next step is to create slash commands. So let's go back to the application, go back to add features and functionality, and now go ahead and select slash commands. And now it gives us the option to press this button to create a new command. So the command we're going to create is just going to be called Nautobot. And this is what we'll use to tell Nautobot that we want some information, or we want it to do something. We'll now go ahead and define our URL. Again, I will paste this in, then tell you what I just did. So if we go back to step 3 now in the README file, this this slash command has the format of HTTPS with the server name, and then you add on the API plugins ChatOps Slack slash command. So that is what I went ahead and did over here. I did my server name, plugins ChatOps Slack slash command. Short description, say talk to Nautobot, and I won't do a usage hint just yet. So this will be our first Nautobot command right now. So we'll just stop with defining that and go ahead and hit save to save that Nautobot slash command. So now we have a defined slash command that's just Nautobot. Go ahead and go back to the basic information tab for the application, and let's proceed to the next step. So this next part we're going to do is we're going to get a token from the basic information for our application right now. This will be a signature from Slack that lets it know that the application that's running is legitimate. This will be configured on the Nautobot server itself. So if we head on down under App Credentials on the Basic Information tab, there's this signing secret token here. What you need to do is grab this value and save that, because we're going to need that for the section where we configure ChatOps on the Nautobot server. So I'm not going to show this just now. I will go ahead and pause it here, grab my signing secret token, and then we'll resume. Okay, now that we've got our signing secret token, we are going to configure the next part of this, the application, and it's OAuth and permissions. And for those of you following along, we are on step 5 in this in the Slack setup section. Okay, so let's go to OAuth and permissions, and we're going to grant this the chatbot some credentials here, some scopes. We're going to let it know what it can and can't do. So we'll go ahead and click the button here under Bot Token Scopes, Add OAuth Scope, and we're going to add a whole list of them. The list of them is shown right here. I'm not going to show all of them that I do because that would be a bit boring for you to watch, but I'll show a few of them and then we'll move on, okay? All right, so let's go back here. So the first one we're going to add is, notice that commands is already there by default. So the next one we're going to add is chat write. Okay, it adds there. We'll add another one here. Uh, channels and channels read. Okay, I've went ahead and defined all the scopes that are listed here. Again, they are listed in step 5 here. Let's head back. I've added the scopes, and now that I've added the scopes, let's scroll up. There should be 10 of them, by the way, 10 in total. Let's scroll up to the top of the page, and we'll hit Install to Workspace. All right, this brings us to another page, and at the bottom of the page, it's asking us, excuse me, for a channel where the app can live and operate. So we'll go ahead and say in that NetOps channel, and we'll go ahead and allow that. Okay, in this space now, you'll notice that a new OAuth token appears here. Go ahead and copy that token and set it aside because we are going to need that value as well when we are configuring Nautobot ChatOps on the Nautobot server. So we'll go ahead and copy this and set it aside. Continuing on now, if we just go back to basic information, let's take a look and see what happened in our Slack channel when we installed the app into the workspace. We told the application that it could that it could live in the Nautobot, in the NetOps channel. And here we are. It says, I just added an integration to this channel. Great. Now we need to allow the Nautobot ChatOps app in the channel. So if I just try to at Nautobot ChatOps, and I just hit return after doing that, it's going to say, hey, it's not in NetOps yet. Do you want to add them to the channel now? And go ahead and, yeah, allow Nautobot ChatOps into the channel. And there we go. Now as far as Slack is concerned, Nautobot ChatOps can operate in this NetOps channel. All right, now that we have this, the next step is to find our organization and channel values in Slack. And we'll go ahead and do that now. So to find those Slack values for our organization and channel, we can open up another window here and go to slack.com. And then we can hit, go down to in this upper right corner here, there's a launch Slack button. Go ahead and launch it and go ahead and select Vandelay Industries. And you'll get this prompt. So go ahead and don't open it in the app right now. Go ahead and hit Go ahead and hit cancel. And then we are going to launch Slack in our browser. And then we're in the NetOps channel. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to examine this URL up here. So this URL up here has our organization's value and our channel values. This has the format of, I'll just put it here in the message channel. It has organization is the first value and channel is the second value. So our organization value in this case is this one, and our channel value where where ChatOps is going to live is this value right here. So we'll go ahead and just take this URL and set it off to the side for future use. And now that we have all those values, we're now ready to proceed to the next step, which is configuring the Nautobot server for ChatOps on Slack. And that'll be the next section. Okay, now we're moving on to Nautobot server preparation and configuration. In this section, there's going to be 3 areas of focus. The first one is modifying Nautobot config.py. The next one is installing the Nautobot ChatOps package on the server. And then we'll go ahead and restart the Nautobot process. The modifications we're going to make to Nautobot config.py are not terribly complicated because we gathered most of the information we need in the prior section. So on the screen right now is a snippet of code we're going to add to Nautobot config.py. And we're going to replace the Slack API token and the Slack signing secret with the values we collected prior in the prior section. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, let's now go ahead and configure Nautobot config.py to support ChatOps. So for this section, go ahead and log into your Nautobot server. And for this portion, make sure you are acting as the Nautobot user. Now within the Nautobot home directory is the Nautobot config.py file. In my example here, my home directory for Nautobot is opt.nautobot. Your home directory may be different. Regardless, there'll be this Nautobot config.py file in there. Go ahead and open that in an editor. And then within this document, go ahead and search for plugins, which is right there. Great. So at this point, go ahead and configure the name of the plugin, which in this case is Nautobot ChatOps, in the plugins list right here. And then for this next part, I'll just paste this in. And then I will go ahead and populate these Slack API token and Slack signing secret values once the camera's stopped to preserve the secrecy. But notice here that we have a few things. We have the Nautobot ChatOps is the name of the application we're configuring. We're enabling Slack, that's set to true. Then the Slack API token and the Slack signing secret, again, are values we got from the previous section when we were configuring the Nautobot, when we're configuring the Slack application. All right, now that we're all configured in Nautobot config.py, let's go ahead and just install the Nautobot ChatOps package. To do that, we just do pip3 install Nautobot ChatOps. Again, we're doing this as the Nautobot user. And there you go. Now that we've made changes to Nautobot config.py, we need to restart the Nautobot process on the server. So in our server terminal, this time acting as a user with root privileges, in this case NTC user, go ahead and restart the Nautobot process. And then we'll take a look and make sure it started okay. There we go, it is active running. Fantastic. Great. The next step here will be to configure the Nautobot web UI and allow authorization for the application in the web UI. Okay, everyone, we're getting really close here. We're in the final stretch right now. This final section will go ahead and grant access to the chatbot in the web UI. We'll grant certain permissions. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So on the left, in my left browser window here, you see I'm logged into my web UI, and I am an administrative, a super user as I'm logged in here. And on the right here, I have the GitHub Nautobot plugin ChatOps installation document. And we are going to be following this example in this walkthrough right now. Unrestricted access within a single organization. So we'll keep an eye on this table as we go through this. So to configure the permissions, go over to the plugins menu, access grants, and we'll go ahead and add. And the first one, we're going to follow exactly what's in this table. The command will be star, any command. Subcommand will be star as well, wildcard. Grant type will select organization. The name can be Vandalay, regardless. And then remember back in the, when we're configuring the Nautobot application, we grabbed our organization value from the browser window when we opened up Slack in a browser. So that is the value we're going to put here for our organization. Okay. Then we'll hit create and add another. And now we'll go to this next line here, the second one. We'll go star, star. This will be a channel type grant. We'll just say any for that. And the value will be star. So the Nautobot can run in any channel. Create and add another. And then for this one, we're on this third one here now. We'll go star, star, user, any, and star. Okay. All right. If you look at what we have configured here and this table over here in the setup documents, we do match. So now we've configured the web UI properly. Okay, we've done all our work and now we're ready to give Nautobot ChatOps a spin in our new Slack workspace and channel. So with that, we'll go ahead and go to our NetOps channel within Vandelay Industries and do /Nautobot. And then go ahead and hit return for now. All right, Nautobot's telling us it knows these following commands. So let's give it a shot here. So we'll do Nautobot get VLANs. Go ahead and give that a look. Okay, so now Nautobot's prompting us for more information. We want, let's just say, VLANs in a site, and we'll select a site. We'll go with Bangkok, and here is the information Nautobot's returning to us. So there we go. Nautobot is up and working in our Slack channel. We have ChatOps working now, and now we can easily access Nautobot's information via ChatOps. Now we're going to cover running multiple Nautobot instances in the same Slack channel. So a use case for this would be is if you have two networks, network one and network two, and each one of them has their own Nautobot instance. Or for example, if you have a dev instance of Nautobot and a production instance of Nautobot, you could communicate with each one of them individually in the same channel. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look and see how we would do that. So here, there's two main differences between running just a standard Nautobot ChatOps implementation and an additional Nautobot ChatOps implementation in the same channel. The first one has to do with defining the slash commands. So in our normal instance of Nautobot, in our initial instance, the one we saw prior, we just defined the slash command as /Nautobot. In our second Nautobot instantiation, we'll define the slash command as /network2 Nautobot -Nautobot. And so that will be reflected also in our Nautobot config.py file on our Nautobot server, where we will, in the plugins config under Nautobot ChatOps, the same as we did before, we'll enable Slack, we'll do our API token and our signing secret, and then we're going to add a key value pair, Slack/command prefix. And then in this example, I'm going to use /network2-. Again, this matches up with how we're defining our slash command in the application. And so we will see an example of how this works next. Okay, let's go ahead and head back to our Vandelay Industries NetOps Slack channel, and let's get going with the second implementation. So recall the Slack/command prefix was network2, and there it is, network2 Nautobot. And if I just hit return here, it's telling me all the command it knows. So then we'll do network2 Nautobot, and then let's go ahead and do get circuit providers. Okay, here are our circuit providers. And in case we're wondering, we can just do Nautobot, and then we can say Nautobot, let's just say Nautobot get VLANs. So again, we're being prompted here for a certain site. Let's do a certain site. Let's say that one. And here are our VLANs from our Nautobot chatbot, and our Nautobot network 2 chatbot is still up here. So we've shown here how to configure and then use separate instances of Nautobot in the same Slack channel. Okay, so we're going to quickly cover what ngrok is and how it can be used in this context. So let's for a moment imagine that you have a Nautobot server that you're going to use with ChatOps, but you don't yet have a publicly accessible URL for the Nautobot server. So you can use ngrok. It's a tool that will create a tunnel to expose a publicly accessible URL to what is otherwise a private resource with no internet access. Uh, I suggest strongly that you use it in conjunction with your security organization until you have a permanent publicly accessible URL for your Nautobot resource. Um, it can be a huge security risk if not managed properly. Now, having explained some of the security ramifications, let's see how ngrok can help us. So if I go ahead and run this command, ngrok is exposing a publicly accessible URL for us. So I can paste this URL into my browser here. And I'm now accessing my private VM from the internet using this tunnel created by ngrok. Okay. So this would be the link you would then use when you're configuring your Nautobot application for testing purposes. You would paste this link in there. Okay. And if you're using the free version of ngrok, this link will change every time you start and stop the server. See, we have a different link now that we started it and stopped it. Okay, this concludes the demonstration of ngrok. Thank you for your time today. If you have any additional questions, we have a few resources that you can look to. First of all, we have a network to code Slack workspace, and we have 2 channels there, Nautobot and Nautobot Chat. Nautobot, you can ask questions about all things Nautobot, and in Nautobot Chat, you can actually interact with a Nautobot instance of ChatOps. Please feel free to ask questions there. We're definitely here to help. The ChatOps GitHub repository is right there as well as a couple network to code blogs that cover creating custom chat commands, and another one covers setting up Nautobot ChatOps with Microsoft Teams instead of Slack. Again, thank you for your time today and have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you.